What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sunday edition of NBA Live here at FTNDaily.com, presented to you, as always, by Superdraft Daily Fantasy. My name is Zach Graham, a.k.a. Kawaisenberg DFS. I'm here with my good buddy, Javi Prellezo. Javi, I know you and Eddie did a show yesterday. I haven't quite seen the video, but you told me there might have been some Monster energy drink poured in Eddie's hair. I just saw the screenshots in the chat this morning when I was going through. So I know you guys did well, but what the hell was going on the stream yesterday?
Our boy Easy B asked Eddie, what he put in his hair, and he's like, I just got a haircut, and it's just energy drink on there. And I think we all had the look I had, and then he poured it in his hair. It just happened.
Yeah, proved it, I guess, on stream, huh? I'll have to go check out that clip once we get done here. But not a ton of time, unfortunately, for the pleasantries and catching up here on this Sunday, because we got a ton of games in front of us tonight here. Obviously the NFL divisional round wrapping up this afternoon. I know the Bucks and the Rams in the middle of their game, I think starting the second half right now. And then we get, Adam Pfeiffer. I don't know how nervous he is, but I assume the nerves are off the charts for him. The Bills and the Chiefs closing out the NFL weekend. But we've got 9 games here on this NBA slate, so no show preceding us. Lock here in about 57 minutes, and 3 games going off at lock. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first game on the docket today is the Los Angeles Lakers visiting your Miami Heat down there in Florida. 214 implied total here with the Heat 3.5-point home favorites. So Javi, perfect place to start. Let's start with your boys. Who are you targeting from the Heat tonight?
So again, Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, they're still going to be out here. Mm-hmm. So this gives a boost to the secondary pieces like Max Strus, who's been playing great basketball, Gabe Vincent. This team has been beat up left and right, and we're still, we're persevering, Zach. We're one of the best teams in the East. And this is with Jimmy Butler missing half the season. So, I think I will land on some Max Strus and Gabe Vincent, but they're a little expensive now for my taste. Gabe Vincent a little over 5K. It's really Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. Again, we target against this Lakers defense. It is the Russell Westbrook effect in full force. And I honestly think that both Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler are in great spots. I don't think both of them could smash here, but I think one or the other is the path that I'm going to go. I like to play, and I know you don't have a 10 for my boys here. I'm a little hurt by that, Zach, but I think Jimmy Butler, triple-double threat. Even Bam Adebayo's got some triple-double threat upside here. Sure. And they both let us down recently. I am going to get – my plan is to do 2 lineups, one with Jimmy, one with Bam. Maybe they both crush. So that's how I'm going to do it today. And I think, just building around those 2 pieces against this Lakers defense is what I'm going to do. So.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Obviously, to your point, targeting the Lakers this year has not been a bad idea on a day-to-day basis. I'm not sure I can, again, like you mentioned, no 10s here for me in the ranks on this Heat side, but 2 9s. Jimmy Butler did get the 9, coming down to 8-7 over there on DraftKings. I think is plenty cheap for a guy like Jimmy, who in a matchup like this, highly contested, obviously, he wants to show out against the Lakers, a rematch of the finals from a couple years ago here. It's really the triple-double upside that does it for me with Jimmy. And you mentioned we've seen Bam triple-double multiple times in the past, but I actually think the upside is a little bit higher here for Jimmy in my book at that 8-7 price tag. No issue going to Bam at 7-8. Still a strong play there, but I think there's other places I would rather prioritize at center on DraftKings, but by no means a bad play is Bam. Gabe Vincent got a 9 for me. I'm a big fan of his from a real hoop standpoint and also from a fantasy standpoint if he's going to be playing upper 30s in minutes, 37 minutes 2 games ago, 38 last time out in the 2-point loss to Atlanta on Friday. He's just at 5'1", somebody that I think is maybe not going to go overlooked, but I don't think is going to be highly owned on this slate. And as I say that, I just want to cross-reference that statement with what Kyle's got here, because Kyle, timely as ever, 1 minute before we went live, got the projections updated. So checking out the Heat right now, He's got Gabe Vincent at 15% ownership. So again, I think you don't have to play a ton of them. And at that price, he's a really strong play with some upside. Obviously, the guy can get you close to value just on his scoring ability alone. I would expect him to get back into the double-digit shot attempt range here after only taking 9 shots against Atlanta. Still 30.5 DK points there. You mentioned Max Strus. I'm with you. He's been playing great and really in play for me, starting or off the bench with the guys who are out. I also think you can slot in Duncan Robinson, shooting guard only on DraftKings, but at 4K flat, we know he's likely going to take low double-digit 3-point attempts, and at that price tag, he can certainly pay off if he's hitting his shot. But let's flip to the other side now. LeBron up top 11-2, small forward only on DraftKings. Anthony Davis will sit at least one more game before making his return. So we've got Russell Westbrook 8-4 on DraftKings, but you look over on FanDuel, Russell Westbrook is 7.7K. So when you look across the ball here, Javi, do you have any interest in getting to these Lakers? I don't think we need to touch on the cheap guys for the team, really.
No, I'm not landing on it. Again, I'm only running about 2 lineups. We'll see if there's some overlay. Maybe I'll do more. But as of right now, I'm not. I don't see it as a priority. This is not the best matchup. You know, the Heat are finally somewhat healthy, minus losing Kyle Lowry. He's very good defending at the guard position. But you know, some of these guys are matchup proof, like LeBron and Russell Westbrook, who's everybody's favorite boy. Shout out Joe Metz. Sorry for your loss. You joined Zach and I on the couch now with all the other Cowboys, Steelers fans, but honestly, I'm not going to land on it. I don't like the matchup, even though LeBron James could break a slate on any night. It's just too expensive for me to prioritize there. So yeah, I'm fading the Lakers. That's it.
Yeah, I think I would be multiple lineups in before I did get to LeBron. There's some other spend ups that I prefer, both like above him, and you know, he's 11-2. So I guess I'm really just kind of saying Jokic and Harden. But I would rather get to those 2 guys today. And then there's plenty of guys cheaper than him, even sub 10K, that I would still consider that spend up stud range that I have a lot of interest in. And we'll get to the John Morants, the Karl Anthony Townses of this slate. Again, I mentioned I don't think we need to talk too much on guys like Malik Monk, Carmelo Anthony, Talon Horton Tucker, etc. I guess if Dwight Howard was to get the start, you could roll him out there, but there's just so many other ways to go on this slate that I cannot prioritize any of those other guys. Let's go to the next game here. 3 games again that tip off right here at main slate lock. The Bulls, shorthanded Bulls, obviously going to be without Alex Caruso for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So I guess I'll start here. I know the Bucks aren't on the slate, certainly not in this game, but Grayson Allen just got his 1-game suspension. Javi, when you looked at that play, on a scale of 1 to Morris Brothers, how dirty was that?
Nothing's dirtier than what the Morris brothers do, right? I mean, Fat Boy Jokic, he was in the wrong too. Okay, we need a whole show to discuss this whole situation. I think Keith was wrong, and I think Jokic was wrong. But I mean, I think it was pretty cheap, Zach. I mean, I don't think it was like. And Grayson Allen in college was known for this. He really hasn't done it in the NBA. He's kind of like shaped up a little bit, matured a little bit since being in the NBA, maybe because he, I don't know, rookie out of Duke coming into the NBA, and he really hasn't really gotten a chance until this year. I don't know how I feel, Zach. I mean, I think he does deserve a suspension, maybe a little bit more. I mean, he put Caruso out of commission for 6 to 8 weeks. That's a big deal, you know? Yeah.
The thing for me with that hit, and I know we need to move on and talk the plays for this slate, but it was the second grab with his right arm. I thought it was a good, I don't know if you can call it clean, but it was a hard foul trying to prevent the basket until he brought that second arm and kind of wrapped him up in midair. Anyways, I agree with you. I think in a vacuum, it seems like a very light punishment, but I think in the full context of how the NBA has been disciplining players over the last 12 months, it is probably about where it should be. Unfortunately for the Bulls, they'll still be without Zach LaVine and Lonzo Ball tonight. Javonte Green also out for this team, as well as Derrick Jones Jr., who center only on DK. So hopefully we get that changed before he comes back. But you're going to have a 9-1 Vucevic returning to Orlando tonight. DeMar DeRozan, power forward only, still at 8'9". Then you've got Kobe White, 6'3", Ayo Dosunmu, 5'9", and Tyler Cook, who pulled the start last game and played 25 minutes. He's down at 3'5" with power forward eligibility. So looking at the Bulls here, kind of surprising, I guess maybe unsurprising when you think about who's inactive for the Bulls, but only 3.5-point road favorites here against the lowly Magic. How are you figuring out the Bulls today?
I mean, this team came out looking like one of the best teams in the East, and now they've just been ravaged by injuries. So it's unfortunate. It's a team that we can target against now. Listen, if I recommend Cole Anthony one more time and he busts, I'm sorry, everybody. But, I mean, his price is too low, even as much as he's been struggling. So I prefer more the Magic side. I don't think I'm going to land on anybody from the Bulls. It's just they're priced appropriately. That's what it is. And this matchup is great against the Magic. So if this game stays close, it could be somebody going optimal here, Vooch or DeRozan. But I'm not going to land on there even in this matchup. So it's really just looking at Cole Anthony. I can't believe I'm going to recommend him again, Zach, for like the 5th slate in a row. But these Bulls are banged up, and that's something to note here. I mean, no Lonzo, no Caruso. Those are 2 great defenders right there. So, I mean, for me, I like taking a chance on Cole Anthony one more time, and if he burns us, we can just burn it, and then he'll probably crush the next slate. But I think this is a good spot for him. I think Suggs is fine too. We saw him just go nuclear last game, and I don't think I'm going to land on him this time. He's priced up now. He has been playing well since coming back, but for me, it's really just focusing on Cole Anthony here, Zach.
Yeah, I think a lot of my focus, if I was playing today, would be on that Magic side. Obviously, no issue getting to a Vucevic, getting to a DeMar DeRozan. I think I would Kobe White certainly over Dosunmu on DraftKings for the $400 premium. But on our sponsor Superdraft, you can get Dosunmu for 2x over there. So I think that's my favorite piece on Superdraft from that Bulls side. But as you mentioned, the Magic here going to be extremely shorthanded. Obviously, still no Michael Carter-Williams, Markelle Fultz, but Gary Harris and Terrence Ross are out, joining RJ Hampton on the sidelines. RJ Hampton, of course, with that knee injury. So very shorthanded Magic rotation here today, especially in the backcourt. So Cole Anthony at 6'4", and I think Jalen Suggs at 5'5". I don't think I would stack them, but I wouldn't set a rule against it if I was building an MME build in the optimizer today. I think really the only guy, Javi, that I don't have any interest in is Wendell Carter Jr. Yeah. 6'7" power forward. I'm more worried about the minutes. Like, he's getting back into the starting lineup here. It is Anthony, Suggs, Wagner, Franz Wagner, that is, Wendell Carter Jr. and Mo Bamba starting again together here for the first time in what feels like months, but only 19 minutes off the bench for Carter Jr. last time out. So I just have trouble seeing him get back to his, 30-minute mark here. Like, that would seem like a pretty significant jump. And even then, he's the most expensive out of all these guys who project fairly well. And I think I would Franz Wagner over Mo Bamba. Just going to have more of a minute share there. I think he's going to do some more things. Not the greatest matchup for Mo Bamba. And then Chuma Okeke at 4-2 should get upper 20s, maybe crack that 30-minute mark here with how shorthanded they are. I think he's a fine value as well. Anything else for you from this game?
No, that's a great call with Franz Wagner. I did not realize how cheap he is now, 5,300, and his minutes are pretty secured. So, I'd get exposure there. He might land on one of my 2 lineups here. Sure. I kind of don't want to play Cole Anthony and Franz Wagner, but I might land on it just because of price.
I mean, how many minutes these guys are going to get in a game like this with all those guards out just makes them so attractive at their prices. The other game that's going off here at lock is the Portland Trailblazers, another very shorthanded team against the Toronto Raptors, who are somewhat shorthanded by choice. And by that, I mean Nick Nurse's rotation, where I think he did expand it to 8, maybe 9 guys touched the floor last time, but I think it was just a 7-man rotation with the typical 5 starters and then Chris Boucher and Precious Achiuwa playing the only significant minutes off the bench. So there's pretty big favorites here at home today. On my last refresh, the Raptors were 8-point favorites here with a 214.5 implied total in this game. Blazers coming in, obviously no Damian Lillard, no Norm Powell, still no Larry Nance or Cody Zeller. So starting with the home team here, Pascal Siakam still center only. You have any priority targets from the Raptors? Because I'm having trouble really picking out somebody that I like, to get into, I don't know, the upper tiers of what my ownership would be.
So I actually crossed this game off. I've been trying to target against Portland recently, and they've actually been improving defensively. Maybe it's because CJ McCollum is back and the team's getting healthier. I mean, I wouldn't say they're a top tier defense here per se, but I've been trying to target them with the Heat the last game, and these last 4 games, it seems like they've tied up. 110 or less points, which is nothing like elite, but still pretty good. I think it's just really the team getting healthier. Even though Portland ranks towards the bottom in defensive efficiency, but I'm not really landing on this game, Zach. Even though it's, Toronto's a decent matchup too. Against Portland's a great matchup. It's just everybody's just seems priced appropriately, and I think that's the problem I'm having. Van Vliet, he's 8,800. I like that he's a little cheaper here. He would be the guy that I would want more than anyone else, but I don't want Anunoby. I don't want Scotty Barnes. Boucher definitely not. They're just priced up, and Siakam 9,200 at center only. Not something I want to go against either. Nurkic 8,600. Like just saying these prices out loud too. It's not something that I'm going to land on today, unfortunately. So,
sure, yeah. For me on the Toronto side, I think the most interesting piece in tournaments, right, is Gary Trent Jr. Did almost got to 30 minutes last game. 29 minutes in his return. That was a 2-week hiatus that he took with that ankle injury. So assuming that he gets back up into that 33-minute range, which is what he's averaged on the season, 4.8 is way too cheap for him going up against his old team here. So I do have some love for Gary Trent Jr. as a value there at 4.8. And on the other side, I think CJ McCollum is way too cheap for the role he's going to play if the Blazers can keep this competitive. CJ McCollum, let me go ahead and make sure I have the Blazers pulled up here. The last 2 games, obviously, he was coming back from the collapsed lung and then the newborn baby. But the usage has been up where we think it should be with no Damian Lillard. No Norman Powell helps that immensely as well. And at 7.5 with a usage rate that's going to come in around 33%. I do have some interest in getting CJ McCollum shares if I was running multiple lineups in a tournament. Also, Nas Little at 4.5 is a little bit too cheap. I like getting to some of him as well. Anything else from these games? Are you ready to move to the 7 p.m.s?
No, I was looking for somebody in the basically the price range of Gary Trent for a last guy in. So now I put him in. So it's all on you, Zach, if this fails.
Sorry, just answering Delo's question there. Yeah. In chat, 2 games going off at 7, Javi. The Hawks at the Hornets and the Sixers at my Spurs. So let's start with the Hawks and the Hornets. I believe the highest total on the slate. Oh, on my last refresh, a point below that Brooklyn and Minnesota game, which we will get to, but a 235 implied total with the Hornets 3-point home favorites here. We'll start with the home team. No Jalen McDaniels. PJ Washington, a 10 in the rankings, which I know raised your eyebrows a little bit when we were talking before the stream. So I guess I'll go ahead and explain that. To me, with Jalen McDaniels out, you're going to see upper 20s in minutes, kind of as the projection, but with the ability for PJ Washington to maybe touch that 30-minute mark tonight, the power forward eligibility on DraftKings at 4.3 and close to a fantasy point per minute player over his career. He's somebody that I have a ton of interest in getting to tonight at that power forward position as a value. Am I expecting him to shoot 6 of 10 from 3 again? No, of course not. But this is somebody that I think is going to get you upper 20s and probably be able to crack that 30 fantasy point mark on DK and for 4.3. I like that a lot. Outside of that, LaMelo Ball at 8.2 is my favorite way to get exposure, again, outside of Washington from this Hornets team. How are you looking at Charlotte?
So I'm just looking at chat, though. Sorry, real quick. Someone's saying Hayward's not going to play. I'm not seeing any news on that. So if you have a source or something.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
4 minutes ago.
Look at that.
It would be nice if I looked at my notifications down here in this corner every couple minutes, but great call there. HB Cards, Gelner, appreciate you guys. So that's going to change some things. And that's going to bring Kelly Oubre much more into play. He was already okay at 5'1", but it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if Oubre or Cody Martin is going to slide into the starting lineup here for Gordon Hayward, but I think both of those guys, stronger plays now to be sure, and Kelly Oubre going to get a pretty sizable increase for me here, just sitting at 5'1". So we'll come back to Charlotte in a minute. Let's talk the visiting Hawks, Javi. You got Trey Young, 10-3, point guard only on DraftKings. I believe 10K flat over there on FanDuel. 10K flat, point guard only there as well. So starting up top and then working your way down, how are you looking at this team that still has no Bogdan Bogdanovic, does have Clint Capella back, I believe, still on a minutes limit, and we're waiting on news for Danilo Gallinari and Kevin Huerter?
Yeah, I mean, if those guys are out, Danilo and Huerter, I think DeAndre Hunter becomes a good. I still like DeAndre Hunter either way, even though his price is up. But this guy, ever since he came back from injury and he's been getting big minutes, he's actually been playing very well. He does have like a ceiling cap, but he has 32 or more DK points in 3 straight games, and he's getting the minutes. So 34 or more minutes in those 3 straight. Also, minutes are there. It's a great matchup against Charlotte. So I like DeAndre Hunter, and I don't think he'll be as owned as he's been in previous slates because his price is up. So I like him more than anybody else. I think even if those guys are in, he's still fine piece here. Sure. As for Trey Young, he's a little expensive for my taste. I'm torn here on spend ups today. Looking at what you put in your rankings, Towns, phenomenal play. So I'm like deciding between him. John Morant has been playing amazing MVP like basketball, right? I think you can agree with that. So it's like a decision. Do I want to spend over 10K on Trey Young, or do I want to spend up on, just for a little less for Towns, Morant, LaMelo Ball, which we didn't touch on yet, which he's going to have a boost with Hayward out at 8,200. So yeah, I mean, I'm finding it tough to really land on Trey Young, but DeAndre Hunter is the one that stands out for me.
Yeah, I don't think I differ too much from you, especially if those guys are out, right? And I think Trey Young is a fine spend up, but now, man, with Gordon Hayward out, these Hornets guys are going to project so well. Again, Borrego is a guy that, Coach Borrego, that is a coach who really doesn't want to extend his rotation in terms of bodies if he doesn't have to. So I really think a lot of these Hayward minutes are just going to be absorbed by the Cody Martins, Kelly Oubre's, the other guys in this rotation, Miles Bridges, LaMelo, Terry Rozier. They just look so solid at this point. It's going to be really hard to get away. So I'll continue to work on rankings updates, tinkering a little bit with them now. We'll obviously also wait on Kyle to hopefully give us a projection and ownership projection update as we go here. So we will certainly, with 37 minutes until lock, circle back on that game. We should get Gordon Hayward out news, I would think, here shortly. The other game going off at 7, as we mentioned, the Sixers going down to San Antonio to visit the Spurs. Interesting Vegas line here, Javi, at least in my opinion. The Sixers only 1-point road favorites right now with a 222.5 implied over-under in this game. So obviously Joel Embiid up top has been fantastic, both from a real hoop standpoint and a fantasy standpoint, averaging 45 real points over his last 2 games. Can you get away from Embiid here? I guess make the case why we shouldn't have him in our lineups.
Just price. I mean, if you want to go a little cheaper, a lot cheaper, Karl Anthony Towns, 9,300. I know you like him. I like him a bit. I don't think he can be stopped today. So I like Karl Anthony Towns a lot more. That's mainly the only reason. If you want to spend up. Plus, I like Bam Adebayo for super cheap as well. You can go up a little bit more expensive to Jokic, who probably has a little higher of a ceiling than Embiid. But Embiid, again, he's been playing great. MVP-like basketball for him, too. So that's the only reason. 11K, he is priced up a little bit. So that's the only thing. You got to decide on what spend up you really want. So that's the only reason I would not be on Embiid, really.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you, man. To your point, you're paying up 1,200 more for Jokic. I do think he has a slightly higher ceiling and a slightly safer floor, but it doesn't feel great to say that with how good Embiid has been, not just in the last 2 games, but really over the last month, almost month plus for this team. So it's going to be interesting to watch from the real basketball standpoint, if Philly can make some moves to improve this roster around him. And speaking of the roster around him, Tobias Harris, $7,200, $1,000 cheaper for Tyrese Maxey. And then Furkan Korkmaz getting the 10 in the ranks at 4K. Again, another thing that feels a little dirty to say, but with Seth Curry out, Shake Milton, Matisse Thybulle, Danny Green, and of course Ben Simmons all missing for this team. Furkan played 38, almost 39 minutes in that 1-point loss to the Clippers on Friday and was abysmal from a fantasy standpoint, just 12 DK points in his 38 plus minutes. But if he's going to get that kind of time here, I'm going to go right back with a lot of volume. Guard forward eligible is Korkmaz. So I think he's my favorite piece to get, not just from Philly, but from this game. And then as a secondary piece, I think you can certainly run a guy like George Niang for 3.5, power forward only, but should see minutes into the upper 20s, maybe even touch the 30 mark like he did on Friday. How do you feel about the rest of this team? Are those value guys I know you and I talked about, but how about like Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey? Those guys are going to get big minutes too.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tobias Harris is too cheap here. Obviously, he's got a lot to prove. There's a lot of trade rumors around him, a lot of people saying he sucks, yada, yada, yada. And I mean, it's a good matchup. So I don't think I'm going to land there, Maxey either. Again, I think getting exposure makes sense, like having one of these, either Embiid, Maxey, or Harris, because we've seen the Spurs allow quite a bit on the opposing point total side. So, I mean, for me, I think getting to these guys, it's tough to pick which one I really want. Embiid's probably last, even though how good he's been, but it's just the 11K price tag, really. So I think I'll land on Maxey first, and then Tobias and Embiid.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. And on the other side, I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on these Spurs. It's kind of just the upper three in terms of price. DeJounte Murray at 10-2. Again, he is essentially, I'm not going to say he's going to give you 60 every time out, but I don't think you need to worry about individual matchups as much with a guy like this. Of course, unless the Spurs are double-digit underdogs in a game or something like that. But 60-plus in 3 of his last 5, you can extend that to 6, and he had that 73.5 DK point game. Second in the league in triple-doubles. We love that on DK where we get the triple-double bonus. And again, this game is projected to stay close, only 1 point in favor of the visiting Sixers. So I think you have to have some interest in DeJounte Murray at 10-2. If you wanted to run Jakob Poeltl, I'm not going to call you crazy. He's going to get his time. Again, tough matchup against Embiid, could get in some foul trouble. And the 6.6 price tag, he just doesn't stand out to me. So I would not be prioritizing that, but he's certainly in play. And it's kind of a similar thing with Derek White. I would much rather get to Derek White than Jakob Poeltl. Close to a fantasy point per minute, a little above a fantasy point per minute on the season is Derek White. And if this game stays close, should get into the mid-30s in minutes. But Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Primo's back down with the G League. I don't really have any other targets outside of those top 3 guys I talked about. And it would be kind of DeJounte Murray, Derek White, and then a very sure third in Jakob Poeltl. How are you looking at the Spurs?
No, I'm not going to repeat it. I know we got a few more games here, but I'm identical as you. Like, there's nothing to change here. No, I don't have exposure. There's just a ton of center plays here. So,
sure. Well, let's go to the 7:30 game here. That is Memphis at Dallas, and again we've been saying it for almost probably over a month now at this point, getting into the latter parts of January. An extensive injury list here for the Grizzlies. Coming into Dallas tonight, no Desmond Bane, no Dillon Brooks, no Kyle Anderson, no Tyus Jones. And then we're waiting on news on Brandon Clark, who's questionable with back soreness, and Funaki, Steven Adams in the middle, questionable due to that ankle soreness. But to me, none of those 2 questionable guys are going to affect my love for Ja Morant at 9.6. This guy has shot 53 times over the last 2 games with the same backcourt inactives here, 67 and 56.5 DK points in those 2 games respectively. And if you look at his usage rate over those games, I mean, really everything just jumping off the page to me, Javi, about the opportunity Ja Morant has in this situation. Only 29% usage in that game 4 nights ago against the Bucks in the loss where he had 67 DK points, but a 40% usage rate last time out in the 4-point win against the Nuggets when he had 56.5 DK points. And the minutes, 38 and 39, are just so solid. It's hard for me to get away from him as a priority at that price on DK. So talk to me about him, and then talk to me about the rest of the Grizzlies, the DeAnthony Meltons and John Conchars of the world.
Yeah, I'm not going to repeat it again. John Morant, I wrote him up. He's going to be a core guy. This guy's just been playing amazing basketball, so I'm going to keep playing that. And this is a tough matchup for both teams. That's my only concern, and I mentioned this in my article too on FTN Daily, that both defenses have been playing elite. Like since Doncic's been back as well, this team is one of the best teams on defense. They've allowed under 100 points in 5 of their last 8 games, which is something very important to note here. That's a big deal. Like that's not a lot of scoring here from both sides. So I mean, sorry, from the defense of Dallas. So that's why I'm a little skeptical on John Morant because of the defense, but he's just been playing so good. I'm just going to chase that more than anything else. So I do like him. I think on the other side, Luka Doncic, another guy who's just playing out of his mind. He did struggle his last game against Phoenix, but against Toronto, against OKC, obviously worst defenses here. He had 72, 67 DK points. You go back a few games before that where he played Memphis as well. He had just under 60 DK points. So he's already seen this matchup. It was a blowout win too, so he didn't get full run. He still got 32 minutes. But for me, I side more with the John Morant than Luka side just because of price. But again, I don't mind like a little mini stack between both these guys if you get there.
Sure. I don't think that's crazy at all. Rankings are updated. Kelly Oubre, not Kelly O. That's a different Kelly O. Kelly Oubre also getting the 10 there on DraftKings. So I'm sure we'll get some projection updates here any minute as well. Some lineups coming in for these 6 p.m. Eastern games. Javi Blazers going Simons, McCollum, Little, Covington, and Nurkic. Bulls going Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, DeMar DeRozan, Tyler Cook, and Nick Vucevic. The Heat going Vincent, Butler, Robinson, Tucker, Adebayo. PJ Tucker is active. Lakers going Westbrook, Avery, Bradley, Trevor Ariza, LeBron, and Dwight Howard at the 5. And then the Raptors, no surprises, Van Vliet, Trent, Anunoby, Barnes, and Pascal Siakam at the 5. On this Dallas side, Luka Doncic, 10-7. Again, $1,000 cheaper than somebody like James Harden. But looking at this game, the Mavericks are 4-point home favorites, 218.5. Over under. Porzingis, power forward only, down to 7-4 now. One of the cheapest prices we've seen for him in months. The 17th of November, to be exact, was the last day that he was this cheap. Jaylen Brunson still priced up at 6-4, and then kind of the rest of the Mavs value guys. You prioritizing anybody like with the interest that we have on the Memphis side? Are you going to get to a Luka or a Porzingis or somebody else?
So Porzingis, so he's another guy I wrote up here, and it's really just boils down to price. Like 7,400 for Kristaps Porzingis, I think is ridiculous pricing. On DraftKings, I'm talking about. Even on our sponsorship Superdraft, I think his multiplier is very good. Sure. As tough as this matchup is, this guy has upside for 50, 60 DK points, even with Luka there. I think just because Luka's been carrying this team so much, Kristaps is taking a back seat, and they haven't really adjusted his price. So even in this tougher matchup, I love Porzingis. He's like my GPP play of the day. I haven't seen Kyle's updated ownerships, but earlier in the day, he was not even close to chalky. And I think at 7,400 in this matchup, I love him. Like, I think I might land on Porzingis over Luka because of price. Sure. But I do love a mini stack of Porzingis and John Morant, which is in one of my placeholders now.
Yeah, so we actually did just get in the last 60 seconds a projection update from Kyle. And looking at this Mavericks team, Porzingis, to your point, low owned, 11% projected ownership, right there with Luka, who's at 10.8. So no issue getting to those guys. I think I personally would prioritize getting to Luka over Porzingis, but the 7-4 price tag, you said it. He's too cheap for the upside. Really, in any matchup, is Porzingis at 7-4. So I'm fine getting there. The next game, 2 games going off at 8. Kind of an early finish to the slate tonight. 8:30 p.m. is the last tip off. That being the Jazz and the Warriors. But we'll start with the Pistons and Nuggets here. The Pistons still without Jeremy Grant, Kelly Olynyk out for this team, Frank Jackson, Luka Garza, and then Killian Hayes questionable with that hip contusion. On the Denver side, you're obviously no Jamal Murray, no Michael Porter Jr., but it was interesting to see those guys out on the court getting up shots the other day before one of the Nuggets games. Jeff Green's got the Q tag with the left quad contusion, and Will Barton probable for this game with hamstring tightness. So take me through the home side here, the Denver Nuggets. Largest favorites on the slate, 12-point home favorites, 217.5 over under. You getting to Jokic, or are you getting to any of the other pieces here?
I don't think I am. I mean, as good as this matchup is, I just think this game doesn't stay close, and that 12-2 price tag is not paid off. I mean, if it stays close, Jokic could hit 100 DK points. We saw him almost hit it the other day I guess the Clippers aren't very good defensively this year, but the Clippers are better defensively than the Pistons here. So because I think it's going to blow out, I'm not going to land on Jokic. That's the only reason. I want nothing to do with these other pieces. Jeff Green has been playing amazing. Who thought he would be revitalized? But ever since Jamichael Greene went down, he's been carrying that team. I don't think I'm going to get there today. And then from the Detroit side, this is a game that I actually scratched out, Zach. But for the MMEers, I don't think I'm going to land on the Detroit side. But I have a question for you before we jump on here. Cade Cunningham, are you impressed right now? Because I'm not. And I know it's his first year. Obviously, we got to give the kid a chance. But I don't like what I mean, he showed some upside, but a lot of inconsistency. But I guess that can be factored into like the rookie play, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's been in and out of the lineup. Obviously, started the season with that ankle injury on the sidelines, and obviously a really slow start. Maybe putting it too nicely in terms of his shooting efficiency, but he's kind of picked it up lately. You know, over the last 10 days, he's played 5 games, shooting almost 50% from the field, and 35% from three is better than the 32.5 that he's put up on the season. He was a 40% 3-point shooter last season at Oklahoma State, therefore the Cowboys. So I expect him to continue to improve as the season goes along, kind of getting his feet under him. And it certainly hasn't helped him that has not been a lot of continuity in this rotation with guys being in and out of the lineup really at every position for this Pistons team. So has he met my expectations, Javi? Not my preseason expectations. I think he's come up a little bit short, but we're about halfway through, so we'll see how he performs over the second half. And for this slate in particular, I think he's an interesting tournament play. I mean, we kind of saw the game last time out in the 10-point loss against Utah. Like, that was the game we wanted to jump on before people like perked their heads back up and realized Cade Cunningham has this massive fantasy ceiling, nearly 50 DK points at that 7.4 price tag on Friday. So I think it's fine if you want to get there tonight, but within being double-digit road dogs, we've seen this go the opposite direction more times than it's gone right this season, so I can't prioritize him on this slate. But I don't think you probably don't have to roster a ton to get over the field here in tournaments, so if that's something you wanted to do, I mean, shit, man. If he's going to be 1.9% owned, I'll throw 2 shares into my build of 20, if I was playing and get, over the field that way. Again, 50-point upside, really any time out. It's just a super volatile guy to roster. But with Kelly O out, Trey Lyles, price hasn't dipped too much, but he's still got the power forward eligibility. He's 4.6, somewhat of a revenge game. He spent some time in Denver, if I recall correctly. And then Isaiah Stewart, center only, but 4.5 with no Kelly O. I think those guys have a little bit of value given their price and the role they should play tonight. But again, this entire team kind of secondary ideas in terms of rostering for me. Anything else for you from this game or this team that you want to touch on?
Not really. It's just not a game that I'm really targeting.
Getting some news for the Monday game. So we'll touch on that on Monday. Brooklyn and Minnesota. I think we're going to have a lot of interest in rostering some of these guys here, Javi. So I touched on it earlier where this game has the highest implied total, currently 236, with the Wolves 3-point home favorites over the visiting Nets. Let's start with the visitors. No Kevin Durant, no Nick Claxton. Joe Harris still working his way back, and Paul Millsap out after agreeing to part ways with the club. So James Harden, 11.7 there on DraftKings. Kyrie Irving up to 9.4. Let's start with those spend ups. Are you prioritizing either of the Brooklyn All-Stars on this slate?
Oh, man. If I am, it's going to be James Harden over Kyrie. As of right now, I don't have Harden in any of my 3 lineups, and it worries me. Like, I really wanted to play Harden with Towns in the lineup, but it just eats up so much of your salary. There is enough value on the slate where you can make it happen and have basically a stack that you're a lineup that you're comfortable with. But as of right now, that 11-7 salary just eats up too much. And Minnesota, they've been actually very good defensively this year. They've improved quite a bit. But again, with no KD, I mean, the upside is through the roof for James Harden here. So I think it's a fine play if you get there. I think Jokic for a little bit more expensive might make more sense, but I'm a little worried about the matchup because, again, I used to target against Minnesota's defense all the time, but this year they've actually improved their game and there's been some injuries. I think the important news here is Pat Beverly, Zach.
Yeah, absolutely.
I respect his defense. I think he's a pest on defense, and if he's in, I think I'm gonna fade Harden. If he's out, Harden becomes intriguing to me because who else is going to guard him? Again, Beverly can easily get into foul trouble a minute into the game. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't think I'm going to land on Harden, though. I know you have him high ranked here. It's just from a pricing standpoint and the matchup. I prefer Towns here to prioritize him at 9,300 because who's going to guard this guy on Brooklyn? That's how I see it.
Yeah, I'm in love with Towns today, and I think Patrick Beverly a really strong option too. Again, as long as he plays. James Harden, I'm with you. I would prefer to spend up on him over Kyrie Irving if I can. We saw that upside last time out against the Spurs on Friday night, the 37-point triple-double, 73 DK points. We've also seen the downside, right? 2 games ago against the Wizards, 37.5 DK points, but I think in this matchup, I'm not worried about Patrick Beverly's defense, to be honest. He is a tenacious guy and gets after it. And we could debate the merits of his other antics, hitting people while their backs are turned, things like that. Another time, just from a fantasy standpoint, I think James Harden is my favorite piece from this Brooklyn Nets team. Super hot take there, I know. No issue getting to Kyrie Irving either at 9.4. He's got the 50-plus fantasy point upside with Kevin Durant out of the lineup. LaMarcus Aldridge, not terrible, 5.4. I do think he's going to have a hell of a time trying to keep up with Karl Anthony Towns while he's out there. Patty Mills, sub 5K, is not out of play, but certainly not a priority for me, and I'm not really touching any of those value pieces for this team. But on the Minnesota side, you touched on Towns, 9.3, one of my favorite plays on the slate. I don't see a lot that Day'Ron Sharpe and LaMarcus Aldridge can do. I think James Johnson and Blake Griffin may be their best chances at slowing down Karl Anthony Towns, but again, chance at slowing him down. I do think Cat gets back over the 50 DK point mark on this slate, and for 9.3, I think he's my favorite spend up at center, maybe my favorite center overall on the slate, center eligible play. That is, you mentioned Patrick Beverly, 4.4 is way too cheap if he's going to play in this game. He's got that ankle injury, exited super early last game after 6 minutes against the Hawks. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for that news. You've got D'Angelo Russell, 8K, pretty steep discount here on Anthony Edwards, down to 7.1 on DraftKings after 3 really down games. But that price is pretty enticing against this Brooklyn team. You have any interest in those guards?
I hate to be a cop out, but no, I don't. It's just tough for me to trust any of these guys, really, Zach. I don't know if you like them a little bit more, but like looking through the rankings, it doesn't look like there's a ton of love, right?
On who now? I'm sorry.
On the guards. Yeah,
no, I think they're just they're in play. Those guys would make my pool. Obviously, D'Angelo Russell doesn't need the double-double bonus to get there. He showed us that last time with his 31 real points and always alive for that double-double with assists.
Yeah.
For the 8K price tag, again, it doesn't really stand out in the context of the full slate. Anthony Edwards is probably, like, if I had to choose between the two, I'm probably taking the savings there on Ant Edwards and just taking the shot volume and hoping he gets me, 25 plus real points and gets on top of that 7.1 price tag. And then for the guys cheaper than Pat Bev, I think it's Jaylen Noel. If I have to roster somebody down there, if he's able to get into the low 20s in minutes, he could easily pay off that 3.6 price tag against this Brooklyn team, and certainly a boost for Noel if Patrick Beverly's minutes are up for grabs in this game. Anything else for you before we move on to the hammer?
No, that's a great call. I mean, I was talking about it too. Anthony Edwards, I just feel like his price is too cheap. That's why. But it's just scoring dependent, which is obviously the worrisome thing with him for me. So, Jake's also asking, not sure if you guys touched on it, but you guys think Beverly's going to be on a minutes limit if he's in? So I don't think he's going to be on a minutes limit. Like he exited what? It was the last game, right, on the 19th, or was it 2 games before?
No, that was the last game out against Atlanta on the. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like he played, between 25 and 30 minutes the 3 games before that. So I don't see why he would not get full run here unless he is bothered by that injury. So I think he's fine. He's just he's gonna have to play big minutes if he's gonna be on defense on Harden. So that's why I see it. And again, he's not a high usage guy, especially on this team. So
yeah, I mean, I also think if Patrick Beverly's playing, I think he's probably full go. Like he's fine. If the ankle's bothering him, there's no reason for this team to run him out there. They are not short at the guard position. And it's not like this is a must-win scenario for this team. They are not just in play, I believe, for the play-in game, but they're live for a top 6 seed here. They're only a game and a half behind Denver for that 6 seed here. So again, I don't think that if they run Beverly out there, I don't think it's going to be half-hearted. So just to answer Jake's question with my opinion on the matter. He said he just realized it was an ankle, thought it was a hammy. Yeah, that would be a different story for sure. And I think if it was a soft tissue injury, I would lean on him being out. Speaking of guys that can score a lot, and we were talking about Patrick Beverly, so I don't know why I said that, but Jason Tatum, Javi, 51 real points in the massive blowout win of the Wizards earlier today. So I assume he will be part of that Top Shot Flash Challenge that goes live tonight. Let's jump into the last game, the Jazz visiting the Golden State Warriors. Still waiting on some important Jazz news here. We've got Rudy Gobert questionable with that ankle soreness. His backup, Hassan Whiteside, questionable with his return to play conditioning or reconditioning, I guess they call it. Bojan Bogdanovic is probable with a finger strain, so I think he gets out there and plays. And Donovan Mitchell's still out in the concussion protocol. So I guess we'll start here. Do you have a lean on whether or not these centers are going to play for the Jazz? I think most importantly, Rudy Gobert.
I think Rudy Gobert will play. He came into this last time and he was available to play. I think he plays through it again. And if he plays, I love him today. Like I wrote him up because the way you beat Golden State is through the big man. And we've also seen that the ceiling and the usage has been much higher with Donovan Mitchell out for Gobert. Like we haven't really seen that in seasons past, but he's got 47 or more DK points in 5 of his last 6. And I believe the last 3 games with Mitchell's been out, or the last 2. He's had 51 and 47 DK points, and he had only 32 minutes the last game, where he usually plays around like 35 to 37. So yeah, I mean, I love Gobert. Even if Whiteside's in, I don't think he's gonna play much. Plus, Whiteside's not gonna get big minutes. So I think that this is a phenomenal spot for Gobert. So I love Gobert here. Not a good matchup across the board. Golden State, one of the best teams defensively, actually. But for me, I am going to play some Gobert. If I land on the last guy in with Conley. It's not my favorite play, but I know you have him ranked as an 8 here in your ranking. So I think he's fine. I mean, he gets a boost too. I'm pretty sure, and I have to double check my notes here. I know we're running low on time, but the biggest boost with Mitchell out is Clarkson. I believe they were talking about that too. But Conley still does get a boost for the most part, but he hasn't been playing too well. I mean, he's only hit 32 or more DK points in 2 straight, but then before that, 28, 22, 19. So, I mean, there's not a very high ceiling here. We haven't really seen a ceiling since Donovan Mitchell's out, but Conley is a very intriguing play to me too, because I think he'll be low owned as well.
Yeah, Conley just fine, in my opinion, to get to. I think he's probably the safest out of that trio there between him, Bojan, and Clarkson. Although Bojan and Clarkson are the 2 guys that do get the biggest usage bumps when Donovan Mitchell is off the floor this year. Out of those 2, I think I'd rather go with Bojan and spend up that extra 300 if I could. But again, none of these guys really standing out to me as priorities And I agree. I do think Rudy Gobert gets out there and plays tonight. He played 32 minutes on Friday against the Pistons. And if he's out there gutting it out with a 51.5 point DK performance, DK point performance, I should say, I think he's going to get out there and play against their conference rival in a game that, we talked about Minnesota, Brooklyn not being like a must win really for either team. This isn't a must win either, but this is going to directly affect that battle for the top of the West. So I do think Rudy Gobert gets out there and gives it a go. Golden State side here, of course, the home team, Steph Curry up to 10-9 on DK, actually down to 10-9, was 11-1 last time out. We know the upside that he carries against any opponent on any night. But then the rest of this team with Klay Thompson back in, obviously no Draymond Green, still no James Wiseman, and Andre Iguodala will also sit this one out. But this team is not shorthanded in terms of how many bodies they can and will run out there. So I have no priorities here, and I think it's really kind of just Steph or nothing for me from this team. But do you have any other pieces? Like we got a question or two on Kevon Looney. He should get out there for a significant amount of time. Like I would expect close to 30 minutes from Looney here in this matchup. But again, in the context of the full slate, he doesn't jump off the page to me. So how are you treating the Warriors?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also Steph or fade, but I'm not getting the Steph. I mean, he has not paid off that price tag in God knows how many slates. I mean, he's come close, like where it's fine, like even on a smaller slate, but I just can't get there until I see more consistency from him to pay off a price tag like that. So yeah, I'm not landing on it, but I don't hate it, but it's not for me. I'm not going to be on the word. I'm going to be more on this Utah side more than anything else.
Sure. Well, that wraps up the game by game, 9 games up, 9 games down. We've got 7 minutes and change here until the main slate locks. So if anybody needs us to run through any games that they wanted some extra clarity on, any questions, of course, fire those away into the FTN Daily Discord. And if you are somehow catching us for free and you're not subscribed to FTN Daily yet here on this NFL Sunday, maybe you're watching the games, got us on in the background, I would encourage you to come subscribe and check us out. The first month's just going to be $49.99 for the NBA package here, but you can use that promo code scrolling right below our noggins right now, FTN TV, it's all one word, and that promo code gets you 15% off your first month. You're going to get access to the optimizer, which now has late swap capabilities, the proprietary player and ownership projections from Kyle Murray. You get access to all our premium tools. We've got the standard stuff you find anywhere across the industry, your on-off splits, etc. We've got some unique tools that are just here at FTN. Alex Blickel's game environment tool, Stefano Vaccarino's advanced DVP tool, just to name a couple that our subscribers take advantage of every single slate. You get access to the premium Discord channel where we answer all the questions. You can't ask questions in that YouTube chat and get them answered. I'm sorry. That's not how we do it here. Got to pay to get those questions answered. You also get access to Fast Eddie Fear and Mine's rankings, all that stuff every single day. Again, the code FTNTV gets you 15% off your first month. And if you choose to stick with us after that first month, that 15% discount will be applied to your subscription every month through the end of the NBA Finals. So if you do come check us out, get in that Discord, tag Javi, tag myself, and let us know you're here because we would love to have you. And as we're now 6 minutes from lock, a couple questions here building up. Triple H, I know he is on FanDuel, Javi, and he's asking, is Kyrie at 8,900 in play for you?
No, not tonight. Again, it's Harden or fade for me. We haven't seen that real ceiling from him, even with Durant out. So yeah, I'm not landing on that Triple H.
Yeah, I mean, I would say he's in play, but in one lineup, I don't think I would get there. I would rather spend the 700 more for Ja Morant and 900 more to get to Steph Curry. Really, any of those 4 more expensive point guards I would rather roster than Kyrie tonight, DeJounte and Trey Young being the other 2, or go down $700 to Fred VanVleet, $900 to LaMelo Ball. I think like out of those top 7 point guards, I think he's my 7th favorite. So maybe I should say he's not in play Triple H because I don't think you're running 150 lineups, if I recall correctly. If you are, then have some Kyrie. Anthony's asking thoughts on Zaire Williams tonight, Javi. So I'll kick it to you first. Again, that Memphis team, very shorthanded. Zaire Williams, the rookie for the Grizzlies, been playing a ton of minutes. I believe 30 plus in his last 2. Yeah, 31 and 33 in his last 2 games. The usage is really low, though. So how are you treating Zaire Williams? And on DK, he is – sorry, I don't know the Zaire price off the top of my head. He is 3.7, guard forward eligible. How are you treating Zaire?
No, you said 3.7, guard forward? Why don't I see him there? I was trying to pull him up here, and I didn't see him. I mean, I guess he's fine. I mean, he's gotten 31 or more minutes in 2 straight games, and if these guys are out, which we're planning that they are, then it makes sense. But I just prefer that you try to spend up a little bit more. I think somebody who's going overlooked here is Cody Martin. Like, I think he's a phenomenal play with with Hayward going to be out now. He doesn't carry as much of a ceiling here, but I do like the game environment for this Atlanta and Charlotte game. So at 4,100, I think Cody Martin's the guy that I want to spend. He might be one of the cheaper options that I get to, him and Pat Bev today. Another guy is Duncan Robinson. You mentioned it. He's so scoring dependent. I hate it, but it seems like his minutes are a little higher as of late. So something to keep in mind, but he could finish. He could end up not finishing the game and they put in Strus or Caleb Martin here. So that's the only worry there.
Yeah, Zaire, just not somebody I can prioritize on this 9-game slate with 17 other teams to choose from. A guy who's only seeing really mid to low teens in usage. Like, he's usable because he should get 32 minutes here, but I just don't see the upside compared to some of the other guys, albeit maybe a few $100s more, some of those guys you mentioned and some of the other plays that we went through on the game-by-game breakdown. So not a priority for me, but I'm not going to call you crazy if I see him in your lineup.
Yeah, for sure.
3 minutes here. See some chatter going on.
So we got Gallinari and Herter are both in. So that cuts into Trey Young's ceiling a little bit. So I'm glad I'm not playing him now. I would not run him.
Sure. A.J. Dillon suffered a fractured rib in last night's game. Tough blow for A.J. Dillon. At least their season is over and he can recover fully.
On the couch with us.
Yeah. P-Buck asking P.J. Washington or Strus straight up for you. It's P.J. for me.
Yeah, I think it's easily P.J. Washington. Strus, he's still getting big minutes, like 30-plus minutes, even with not starting. And he could have a blow-up game. But with Jimmy and Bam there, his ceiling's really capped. So P.J. Washington for me.
Dello mentioning that he agrees with us that 4.8K is really cheap for Gary Trent. I agree. So I think he's a good piece of value to get into your builds tonight as well. No, I've got a couple DMs here. Not something I typically get to during the show, but just make sure I'm not missing anything here.
Damn,
one guy we didn't really talk on. I can't let you know that, Javi. Jamichael Greene has been out for the Denver Nuggets, I believe, over the last few games after kind of a couple surprising fantasy performances before he went out. Yeah, hasn't played in the last 12 days. But questionable here tonight and min price. You have any interest there?
No, I'm not going to. I just think it's not needed. But I know Krugers was talking about he needed a 3K punt guy. I think he's probably the best option you have there. But, his usage has been so low this year. Him and Jeff Green have switched in the usage. Like, usually Jamichael's the one that takes over. But Jeff has been he's been playing great basketball. Very impressed by that.
Would you be Andre Hunter or Franz Wagner?
Oof, that's tough because I do like Franz in that price, and I didn't land on him in one of my lineups, even though I said I liked him. But it's probably going to be Wagner because of Gallinari and Herter in. That's why.
Yeah, it's Wagner for me as well. I also think I'm a decently big DeAndre Hunter fan. I think he's a pretty promising young talent, but I do think been scoring a little bit above his head. 3 of his last 5 games, 20-plus real points after averaging 12.5 on the season. 30 seconds now until main slate lock. So, Javi, we will, of course, take a look at some of the ownership with these first 3 games and then get out of here. Let everybody else enjoy the rest of their Sunday evening. And, of course, we'll be in the Discord all the way through that last lock there with Utah and Golden State updating the ranks and the projections as news rolls on. See a couple people typing there in the chat. Let's see Herm saying Gallon Hunter, but okay, Herm was assuming those guys were going to be out. Sure, that's I'm sure Herm has gone to change his Atlanta projections around a little bit. Anthony asking right at lock, which of your Miami Heat players are going to screw us tonight? Gordon Hayward officially ruled out now. Right.
Did you hear about what Sep tried to do? He tried to have Eddie and I fight on our first show of the NBA season.
Really?
He was just trying to have about the Ben Simmons can't shoot thing. Sep agrees with me, but he's just too scared to say it in front of Eddie that he agrees. So that's what it is. No, honestly, I don't know. Like, I like Gabe Vincent. I like Butler. I like Bam. Like, all three are strong plays in my opinion. PJ Tucker down to 3,500, so I like him quite a bit too, even though it's PJ Tucker. I wouldn't say quite a bit. I think he's fine as like a last guy in. But I think it might be the person that screws you is probably Strus or Duncan Robinson. I had Duncan Robinson in my lap, and I just couldn't do it just because it's too risky.
Oh, man, all I can think of with Brock coming in here saying, do we hate Bambi or no, is the Andre 3000 line in semi-pro. Who the fuck is Bambi? I know he's talking about Mo Bamba. No, I do not hate Mo Bamba, but not really prioritizing him tonight. Seems like Coach Mosley doesn't really want to play him 30-plus minutes, and I do worry a little bit about the matchup against Vooch. Pulling up the ownership here if I can, Javi. We'll see. We'll put you to the test here. Smaller tournament, of course. I know everybody was kind of complaining, rightfully so, about the size of today's contest across the industry. I agree, everybody. We can watch football and fill normal-sized NBA contests, or at least not as small as the sites gave us today. So, Javi, 3 games here at lock. Who do you think was the highest-owned player on DraftKings?
Good God. Is it Cole Anthony?
Cole Anthony, number 2.
Ooh.
We'll give you another swing here.
I don't know. Jimmy Butler?
Jimmy Butler, number 4. That's 2 strikes.
Gabe Vincent.
Gabe Vincent, number 3. So you got 2, 3, and 4. It's Jalen Suggs of top.
Is
Jalen
it really?
Suggs,
Ooh, I faded
45% owned.
I faded.
It's a strong play with the minutes that he's projected for, but the recency bias, I think, clearly showing through there. I don't think he should be twice as owned as Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony, 22%. Then Gabe Vincent, 21. Jimmy Butler, 20. Franz Wagner at 19. Your boy Bam, 15.5% owned. DeMar DeRozan, 13, alongside Nas Little. Nikola Vucevic, 12. PJ Tucker, 11. Ayo Dosunmu at 10. And then we're in to the single-digit owned players. Gary Trent stands out to me at 7%. I like that a good bit. CJ McCollum at 4.4% is nice. Only 2% of people went with Russell Westbrook. And where's LeBron? LeBron, 1.5%.
Wow.
So I would definitely be happy to have 5 or 10% LeBron at this point.
Especially against the Heat. I mean, it's personal for him a little bit, you know.
Sure.
He won the championship. He was there. He wasn't going to win 1, not 2, not 3. It ended up just being 2. LeBron, you liar.
Well, all right, everybody. That's going to do it for us. Appreciate you tuning in here on your Sunday afternoon, spending an hour with us. Of course, we will be in the Discord answering any questions, reacting to any news, etc., as we always are. So everybody enjoy the rest of your Sunday. For Javi, I'm Zach. Shout out Thomas, our producer extraordinaire, working around the clock for us. Thomas, a man of many talents. Good luck again tonight, everybody. And as always,
let's get these beans.